Okay, so today on Good Morning Mama, we are going to be talking about how we manage all of the things that moms need to manage with many children and also many small children. So let's jump right in and start talking about all of these things.
Yeah.
Welcome to Good Morning Mama. We're two instant best friends with a combined 13 children, ages newborn to 16, talk about all things motherhood. Our new mom versus seasoned mom dynamic will leave you laughing, and our Christian values and positive outlooks will leave you inspired. So grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and enjoy our visit.
Well, hi, Carla. How are you?
I am good. I am good. I just got Bo down for his nap, and the other kids are watching a movie. And so right now we're kind of at like this nice, quiet lull. So,
Isn't that
um,
just the best time of the day? I mean,
yes,
okay, I love playing with my kids. I love running around with them. I love all things, right? But
yes.
sometimes it's nice just to have a minute
We
when
call
you
this
know they're
quiet time in my house.
contained.
Yeah. And even though we're on a podcast during quiet time, it's still time where you're not actively like making a meal, cleaning up a mess. It's something other than that, just for a minute, like an hour, and
Yep,
then we're ready to go back into it.
I know, because then I miss them. If I'm
Yes.
away too long, then I'm like, oh,
You ever lay your babies down and then you finally have quiet time and you're sitting with your husband and you're like, I just want to wake him up. He's so cute. I just want to wake him up.
And my husband will look at me and be like, remember when it was just us and you were
Yeah,
like, yeah, well,
I do that all the time. I'm like, I kind of miss him. Like, I mean, I miss like all my kids, but they're always coming in and out. But like, I'll lay Bo down and I'm like, oh, I just want to like hang out with him a little more.
I know. My husband, at one time when Kaya was first born, he was like, he came home from work. It was like he just went back to work. She was, I think, 3 weeks old or something. And he's like, I'm gonna just wake her up. I just want to give her a kiss. I'm like, you better not wake that baby up. He's like, I just miss her.
Give her a kiss. Like, come on, don't wake her up, especially when they're nursing, because then it's like, oh gosh, now I'm gonna have to sit for like 30 more minutes.
Yeah, like just give me a break for a second. She's sleepy, please.
Oh,
It's
that's so
painful.
funny. So sweet. So okay, so I have nine children and you have four, and we also have several home businesses that we are also running. I'm on social media, I'm an influencer. Just in that is a business that can take a lot of time or it can take a little time, depending
Mhm.
on what's going on, how much effort I want to put into it. And then you and I also have some businesses together, and we're starting a podcast,
Yep.
and you have your own clothing boutique, as well as other businesses, and we're managing those things in addition to running our households. So, what would you say is like if you had to give a mom that wants to do a home business a few tips, what would you say helps you the most in all of that?
I would say task stacking for sure, planning my day. Every Sunday, I do my best to plan the week and get my top three goals. And then from there, I task stack. So I just like go through my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday by day. What are my top three goals for those? And then I block it out. And I always come back to what's the priority. And for me, my priority is my kids and my bond with my kids. So all of those tasks related to that are first. And then all of my other like business tasks get done when those needs and wants are tended to the best of my ability. It gets messy and it gets crazy, and that's not always. But I would say task stacking and prioritization is like my biggest thing that I need to do.
And then if you don't get those items done, then when you go through your week for the next week, you just roll them to the next week. Is that what you do?
I do, and I give myself a lot of grace.
Yeah.
And I pivot and I reprioritize. So, like, if I can't get something done when I say that I want it done, I also take a second and I go, how important was it? And is it getting me to my end goal for the end of this year or for the end of this month? Is it something that I really can't, that I really need to do? Because if it's not, then I just scratch it.
Yeah.
Or I say that. But if it takes less than I think it's like 10 minutes, I'm just going to do it right away. That's another thing too. So I don't plan my like 10-minute tasks. I just do them.
Yes.
Like like you're like, if it's not, I got to get it done right away.
And my motto is always like, the time is now. The time is now. The time is now. It's not
Yeah.
later. It's always now.
Yep. but I like to set big picture goals and then break them down into monthly goals, daily goals. And then if it's a quick task, I can do it right away. And then I just always reassess priority.
Yeah.
Always.
That's so important. I think that is so key because I think with any business, but especially like a home business, because you're already home, it is so easy to lose focus of what are you doing this for? Like, what is your main goal? Because sometimes a business, like a small business especially, can consume so much of your day and your time if you let it. And you have to like set boundaries because if you're home, it's all here. And so you have to say, okay, I'm working now and now I am not working. And you have to be like, my work right now is hanging out by the pool with my kids, or my work is not, working on this project. It is being 100% present with no phone with my family right now.
Right. And I think one thing that I've observed and seen that you do brilliantly is you will find a way to kind of combine the two and always prioritize the kids, which is something that's so brilliant. You'll always make sure that the kids are having like their utmost fun or getting those certain things done. They get all of the things that you need done within the week, and they always are doing something fun with you, especially during summertime. And you found a way to incorporate your influencer and those kinds of things in your life, which is, I think, so brilliant, from the way that you approach like the mom influencer space. And you've really done a fantastic job of monetizing that as well and creating a full-on business from it, which I think is something that people can learn from.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to teaching that model to more women. I'm really excited about that because it is so doable. And like, if you ask, especially my younger kids, like, what does mommy do? Like, they don't think I like have a job or that I do anything. They just, mom's here. Mom hangs out and we have fun. It's not like, mom's not available to me or, she's working.
Hold on.
Okay. So I will go ahead and talk while Miss Chelsea is tending to her babies. That is just something that she and I work really well together on is, if we're working on a project together and, she is 8.5 months pregnant right now, by the way. If she is, like, what, I'm taking a rest or I am not working on this today. I'm like, that's okay. I got this. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then if I'm like, I'm just going to spend all day with the kids today, she's like, that's okay. I'm going to do this, this, and this for our business. And we just balance each other really well. And we always just are able to, focus on our, our family and our relationship with God first before we do any of our business ventures. Oh, there's sweet little Kaya.
So this is Kaya. Sorry about that. Kaya was choking on her water and scared mommy really bad.
Well, I was just saying how we work so well together because of our priorities are the same. And if we have a day where, we're working on something together, but we have a need where our family needs us more, then we just shift and that's fine. We're like, okay, you go hang out with your family. I'm going to do this and vice versa. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, one of the things that we were able to bond over quite quickly was our priorities in life really are God, husbands, kids, then like friends, work, everything else comes after that because it just, yes, honey, mommy's working right now.
She's like, I want to be on this. That's okay. You can be on here, Kaya, because Bo might join us in a minute too. It's fine. You're so cute.
But I just think that always going back to those priorities, and like we've always said in all of the many things that we've started, we've always said, oh, family first.
Yeah. She's so, that is your movie star microphone there. One other thing that I think would help be good advice for other moms who are looking to, start a business from home and be present with their children is just like, it doesn't take all day to do things that you're wanting to do, for your business. Like sometimes just forward movement of any kind is still a win. Like you can find pockets of time, like in the morning, maybe wake up a little bit early or, maybe find 30 minutes during their nap time or something when you can focus on, your business or, whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Because being a mom is so all consuming that sometimes it's easy to say, I have no time for anything else, just being a mom. And they are absolutely correct. Like, being a mom is all consuming, and that is it. That is normal. That is fine. But there are also ways to find pockets of time. Like for me, if I wake up 30 minutes earlier, or if I take 30 minutes of nap time or quiet time, or even in the evenings, just 30 minutes here and there where you can be totally focused on whatever it is that you're working on, can be very productive. And I've actually found, and I know Chelsea and I have talked about this before, and it makes no sense at all, but the more children we have and the busier our days are, the more productive we're able to be. And I don't know if that's our tolerance for stress is higher, or our ability to do more things in a shorter amount of time gets better. But I found that to be true. And it makes no sense at all. Like, the math doesn't add up. But we're
I
able to do
completely
more.
agree with you.
Yeah.
1000%. It's like the day I became like I had Kaya, I became superwoman in my own head. I don't know
Weird.
what it was.
Yeah.
And then I had Cashton and I was like, oh, I could do even more. Let me start a different business. Like, I don't know
It
what.
makes no sense.
It makes zero sense.
Yeah.
And my goals just keep getting bigger. And I like my tolerance, I think that's what it is. Your tolerance for stress and
Yeah.
like the minutia or the stuff that really doesn't matter, you can weed through it. Like the stuff that really bothered me
Mhm.
before I became a mom,
Yeah.
doesn't bother me anymore. Like I don't get as no when I'm pregnant, maybe, but but I don't get bogged down in that. So I can move through things much quicker than I was before, and I can move through failure. I think having a very strong foundation in faith, but also a very strong base with my husband,
Mhm.
um, really changed my life and my perspective as well. Because knowing that, like, kind of those boxes are checked for me. Now, I mean, my marriage is always work, and I'm always focusing on that, and I always want to put myself into it for sure. But
Yeah.
having that strength definitely has given me the ability to swallow failure if something goes wrong, because I know my husband has my back. So it's really not that bad anymore. You know what I mean? I still have my kids. My kids are love me. Like my whole world is really complete. So these potential failures or the stresses or the things that would really make me nervous before don't really do that anymore, because I have that strong foundation now.
And your why gets bigger too. The bigger
Yes.
your family is, and just the more farther along you get in motherhood, you see your why, and the reason you do your business. If it's aligned with your priorities, it's like nothing can stop you, because it is such a good thing, and you love your family so much that you almost like can't not do it.
I completely,
Right.
I
Yeah.
completely agree. Like the reason why I started Kaya and Cash was because we had medical issues with Cashton, and we can get into that story at another time.
Or now, whatever you
Or
want.
now, okay. So he was airlifted at 6 weeks. He had a medical emergency, and he was airlifted at 6 weeks to the Orlando Children's Hospital from Vero Beach. It's about 2 hours away. And he was 6 weeks old, and he lost so much blood that he
It was
was,
so tiny already.
oh, he was tiny.
Yeah.
He was 7 pounds. Like
Yeah.
he was like tiny.
Yeah.
And he lost, maybe 8 by that time, but he lost so much blood that he was, his hemoglobin levels were near cardiac arrest levels. Like they were below the hemoglobin levels that you get a blood transfusion at such a young age. And the hospital that we were at didn't have a pediatric ER. So I didn't know that you needed to go to pediatric ER. I didn't even know those existed. Like I just never needed
I
one.
wouldn't
Nobody
either. Yeah.
told me. I had no idea. And they didn't have the equipment to be able to put like stints like in him, or to be able to give him IVs, or to do anything. They didn't have the correct sizing. They only had adult stuff. So they let him bleed for 7 hours.
That you felt a mama bear in you that you would never knew existed.
Oh, the amount of people because I am not a yeller. I'm not, I do my best to remain very calm. My husband's nickname for me is Job. Like I try to have patience as best
Except
as I
in that
possibly can.
situation, I bet.
My husband was with our daughter. We didn't understand what the severity of the situation was going to be.
Yeah, because she was barely one, right?
She was so little.
Yeah.
And we had nobody. I don't have like a nanny. I don't have like, we don't have family that lives close by. Like my brother-in-law does, but he's not a mom. Like, it's not like I have my mom next door, like I don't have a sister near me. Like they're in California. Like it was just me and him. So he needed to stay home with Kaya, and she would have freaked out if one of us wasn't there. And so it's just me with the with the doctors in there, and they like threw gauze at me at one point and just said hold pressure. Like the trauma was insane. So I had yelled so loud because it was like a community hospital and they were tending to other triage patients, sure, but also like people that were drunk, which is fine. And I understand that, and everybody needs care, but
it's your baby,
not over my baby that's 6 weeks old and has been bleeding for 7 hours.
Yes.
So finally, because I yelled so loud and I said, if he dies, it's on you. Like in the hallways, people were looking at me like I was insane. I would have too, but
you're very much postpartum at that point too. There's a lot going on with you, right? During that moment.
And they all knew about it. So, but it was funny because he came in and he took the hemoglobin levels and his face almost went white. And I kissed my baby and I said, I told him, I said, kiss his forehead. It's cold. It's cold. My baby shouldn't be cold. I'm like, the doctor took his hemoglobin levels and saw the results and like told me that we're getting airlifted. I was like, oh, really? It took you that? Like, I was so just.
But at the same time, you're like, okay, keep it together,
Well, yeah, because you don't want to make anybody mad.
So then you were not allowed to be in the helicopter, were you? You had to drive.
Yeah. So that was the first time I was ever away from him.
Yeah.
Ever. And since ever. Yeah. So he went in the plane and in the helicopter with strangers. And my brother-in-law was able to drive me to Orlando.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
So I was so out of it that I thought I could drive myself. Like you get to that adrenaline level where you you would have been bad.
Yeah.
And I just finally broke down.
Yes.
Because reality sunk in and I had to tell family and I had to call my husband and be like, by the way, like this is what's happening. And the reality of the situation started to be like, my son could die.
Yeah.
And
you just pray the whole way there.
And my brother-in-law is just kind of like looking.
I bet it felt forever. I bet it felt like you were driving for 5 hours.
Oh my God. And I was trying to keep it together. My bonus son called me bawling his eyes out. He was in California with his mom and he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, everything's going to be fine. Cause
you have to say that.
Yeah. And then
you got to the hospital. Finally, you probably just charged the doors, didn't you?
Oh, so I walk in and I'm like my poor brother-in-law, I leave him. In the car. I would have left everything.
Probably leaking milk too, because you're nursing at this point.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm all over the place. I haven't eaten 24 hours. It's a disaster zone. Yeah. So I walk into the front desk and the lady's like, you can't. I'm like, I can and I will. And, but I didn't know where I was going.
No, yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Like, where's my baby?
Ashton, Jude, Rizzo, where is he? Where is he? I'm saying, the lady's like, ma'am, let me check you in.
Yes. I'm like, oh, okay. You just need to get to your baby. Everyone should understand that.
So I go there and it was literally like a spotlight on him. He's like the only one in this room with a nurse and he's under a warmer. And he has a thing in his scalp, like a little IV. He's like under all of these blankets and this really nice nurse is right there. And he's like, hi, Mrs. Rizzo, how are you? He's like all calm. Like, I swear it was like the most serene kind of
like an answer to all the prayers in the car.
Oh, it was like God right there. Like, it was like, ah, and I was just like, okay. And I'm walking in and he's just smiling at me. Everything's
like, what just happened?
Stopped. Everything's Yeah, he's
Everything's
fine.
good.
Yeah, his hemoglobin levels have returned to, I think it was like 7. It had dropped to 5, which was like almost death, knocking on death's door, and instantly.
God is
So
so
it was just
amazing.
crazy. So then I stayed overnight. We got a shared room, and the room that I was in, it was separated with a curtain, and there was a mom and a uh, father there with a 13-month-old baby, and she had a hernia. And I mean, these kids, they were 19, they were young,
Yeah.
and this baby was crying incessantly. She was clearly just in pain, and they kept running tests, and it was so sad. And so, I mean, imagine being that young and like you're trying to do all of this.
Yeah.
And they ended up, all I could hear was, okay, who's going to work today? I can't call out. They're going to fire me. I can't call out again. I can't miss another shift. And they're trying to think about how they're going to be paying medical bills for not only, I mean, I remember my financial position at 19, and I was barely covering rent,
Yes.
let alone medical bills for my child.
Yeah.
That's getting tested. I mean, and it was clear that they were working a minimum wage job. So I would be surprised if they had the insurance, like, to cover these costs.
Yeah. That's so overwhelming.
And so I just felt so terrible for them while I'm sitting there with my baby. Granted, it was the trauma in and of itself, but my baby's okay. My baby's sleeping. My baby's
And
fine.
you have nowhere else to be except right there.
I am at home. My husband works so hard. He's a phenomenal provider. I don't have to worry about it. We are very blessed. I don't have to worry about any of that. I have great healthcare insurance. I don't have to worry about where my copay is coming from. And I'm so fortunate for that. And we could have run any amount of tests and I wouldn't have even thought about it. I mean, so it was just a different.
You just saw it like firsthand in that moment. You're like, I am so blessed.
So
but then
lucky.
You took it to a next level though. You like a lot of people I feel like would have said, I'm glad that's not me, or I'm glad I'm where I am. But you did realize how blessed you are. But then you said, I want to do something though. And that's what makes it different. And that's the beauty of this story.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So we started Karla and Cash. That happened in July, and then by November, we started an online business that gives 10%, 10 to 30% of proceeds back to St. Jude Children's Hospital. So so hopefully more children can get the care that they need without having to worry about their medical bills, because that was just such a devastating kind of thing to think about. That I mean, I made a couple of different choices career-wise. Had my husband made a couple of different choices, had we been in any, I mean, my mom always said to me growing up, don't think that you're any better. You're one step away from being on that, like the freeway on ramp asking for food. You're one choice away. So always make sure that you're making the right one. And I just, it's crazy. It's how lucky I was, but we definitely wanted to be able to ensure that people didn't have to worry about this. It's the hardest time of your life, having your child in the hospital and having to worry about medical bills. No. So after all of that, we've been able to start Karla and Cash, which is really great. And then we met you, and then we started doing way more fundraising for way more people.
Yep. That is so rewarding. Just to be able to give back, it's so rewarding.
It's so cool. And the thing that's even cooler is that Karla and Cash was able to bring you and I together at a time that I think was one of your harder times in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were able to bond over that too. And I mean, God's just so cool in all of his timing. To be able to bring us together, to turn such hardships into positive things.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yep. God's plans are always the best. Absolutely.
I know. They're so cool.
Absolutely. Well, we've talked about this before, but how that experience, I mean, there was beauty in it, even though it was the hardest time in your whole life. And, we're still living very much in the reality that, my father-in-law died suddenly and he's not here. And that reality hurts. I mean, it was only a few months ago, and it's still just hard to process that. But even in that, and even in grief, and like, we'll have a whole podcast episode on this, but there is so much beauty, and God is still so present, especially in those moments, I feel like, and
Absolutely.
God is always working, even in those moments. And so that is so very true. But back to our
Absolutely.
main topic here. There's so many little sidebar topics, and like, I mean, Chelsea and I talk every day about so many different things. And I think that we've talked about other different ideas on how to balance all the things that go along with motherhood. Like, how do people always say, how do you do it all? Or how do you do that? Or I couldn't imagine having 9 children and you in your house. Like, my house is 10,000 square feet and I don't have a housekeeper and I manage all that. And I have my home business. And how do you do it all? And I think one thing to say to all that is like you can't do it all. And that's okay. Like, you're never going
Right.
to just arrive and be like, I have now done it all. Like, you're never going to do it all. And once you just
No.
realize that like you can't do it all, it's okay to ask for help, or it's okay to not um do some things even though you wanted to do those things, like, clean the bathrooms, or whatever it is, like you have to give yourself grace. And I think um you do have to lower your standard, and it's not necessarily lowering standards on things that are important, but it's lowering standards on things that really do not matter. And I think having multiple children teaches you that. Like, kids will teach you, they're like sanctifying in a way, because they will teach you. I have learned more from my kids than I have ever learned from anything, I feel like. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but they have taught me that things are things and things don't matter. People matter. And my father-in-law also taught me that too. But like, if I was worried about, a thing, an item in my home that my child just broke, which is more important? The thing that is, it's like, no matter what it is, it's simply a thing,
Mm-hmm.
or the child that I am raising, like, which is most important. And it's not okay if your children are destructive and if they destroy things, but you have to just keep in mind, like, kids are kids. They're going to break things, not on purpose, but they're kids. They're going to make messes. They're going to, your house is not going to be as clean as it was before kids, but you can't get overwhelmed with messes and things that break because they're not important. And having that perspective is something that it took me years to have, because
I
I
think that
tried
you're
to
dead on.
maintain, yeah, like I tried to maintain a spotless house because I had a
Yeah.
spotless house. And if you met me before children, you probably would say that I probably need to have maybe one child, two maybe, because I love order and I love clean and I love a schedule. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
But God, right?
But
But I
God.
also I love children, and I've always wanted a big family. Um, and I think that that is something that children have taught me and that I've learned along the way, is that you don't have to have a clean house, like a spotless house. You can have a clean house. But the most important thing is not that. It's the
Yeah.
people and the children that are in your home.
I
So,
completely agree.
yeah.
And it's like the way my mom was pretty good about raising me like that. But the way that I think a lot of people grew up was stay clean, stay orderly, stay perfect, keep the appearances up. And I think there was less focus for a lot of people on the emotional well-being and the just kind of enjoying the moment with your children, or even taking care of yourself and prioritizing that sometimes it's okay to take a shower instead of cleaning the toilets.
Right.
Sometimes that's all right to like
That's okay.
do
That's
your
not selfish.
nails. It's not selfish. It's
No.
not self-care is not selfish. But I think a lot of like, at least I see it that like, and people think that I'm a little bit nuts, and sure, I'm a little bit kooky, and that's fine. I'll own it. I'll be all right with that. And I'm
You're not kooky.
definitely
You're
just a new
definitely
mom.
unique, though. You're
Yeah.
different in a good way.
Where I just think that like, okay, my child, like I drive my husband absolutely insane because I will rather Kaya and Cash learn how to drink out of like a water bottle, for example, or learn, like I do a lot of baby led weaning, which is controversial, but I am okay with them feeding themselves and making a mess and like spilling their food and all of that. And yes, is it overwhelming? Sure. And yes, does that mess drive me insane? Yes, absolutely it does. But is my child learning how to feed themselves and how to properly like control certain things, and learning how to drink from a bottle and learning all of those things, and seeing me be patient with them and say, okay, we make mistakes. What do we do with mistakes? We clean up, and teaching them how to clean up and help me with certain things. I don't know. To me, I feel like that's more important than yelling at them to get in line and like sit on the couch because I just got you dressed and just stay right there. Like I don't know. Like I'm okay with them being a little bit wet in like their new clothes. Like it's okay. Things happen, but I'm probably gonna get creamed for that.
You're a wise mama, and you are a new mom. Like it's weird for me to think of you. You have only been a mom for a few years, but you are. I mean, you've had a lot of children in a few years, but you've realized these things very quickly. I feel like, and that's your children are going to be so blessed because of that. Because I know for me, it took me way more than 3 years to understand those things and to try to not make my children behave a certain way, or keep my house a certain way, and just to kind of embrace it and just be like, they are kids and they're going to do this, and that's okay. And it's okay if your house isn't as clean as it was before kids, because you have kids,
Yeah.
and oh, okay. And so I think you're so wise to realize that and just to see that bigger picture.
I think I got really lucky with my bonus son, Caden. Honestly, and seeing him grow up, because I met him when he was 15. He's 19 now. And actually, no, he was 14. Wow. My husband and I have been together for 5 years. Dang, it feels a lot longer than that.
In a good way.
But I saw him being such like a great kid, and having such a great relationship with my husband where they can laugh about just about anything together. That seeing that bond, like I knew I wanted that with our kids too. Like I wanted it to be less about being perfect and looking perfect. And my husband's really good he's typically right. I like the way that he is. I think that he typically presents himself really well, but he's really good at being like, yeah, I know, I have a Northeast accent and I'm from Rhode Island, and I'm a car guy. So I'm a little bit rough around the edges, but that's who I am. And like, he has the biggest heart and he'll do anything for you. So he can just kind of own his imperfections, and to me that makes him pretty perfect. So I want that for our kids too, that like you don't have to put on this facade that I know that I used to when I was a lot younger. For sure, I was always trying to come across like I was just perfect, and I wasn't.
It's exhausting,
Yeah. So with kids, there's no way you can. Frees up a lot of time for businesses.
Yeah. Well, and I always tell people too, like on our Instagram page, there are those little squares of cute children and the pretty, family picture. But when you go to stories, or when you see our podcast or get to know us, you'll realize that, children are messy and they go outside and they get dirty, and you're going to have way more fun if you just embrace that, and the way you balance it all, like we're talking about in this podcast, is just that you find humor in those things, and you instead of kind of going against the flow, like walking upstream in a river, just kind of go with it. It's just much more enjoyable if you can just go with it and just laugh and enjoy it. It's so much more enjoyable for everybody if you can just kind of have that mindset, I think.
1,000%. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. In conclusion, what would you tell a new mom who is trying to figure out how to balance it all? I mean, like how would you tell them, what would you tell them to avoid getting overwhelmed with the housework and trying to find time for their husband and having small children? What would you tell them would be a few tips to balance all of that?
Definitely, like you were saying, waking up a little bit earlier is always good. Always fill your cup first through prayer, meditation, and then do something for yourself every day, whether it's showering. I mean, that's as basic as it comes, but trust me, when you're a new mom, just shower.
Yeah.
Okay, the baby will be fine for 5 minutes and you'll feel really good.
Right.
And including your kids in household chores is really helpful too. Like it takes a little bit longer, but I always include the kids, and then you don't feel like you don't feel the mom guilt of like focusing on things other than your children if you're just including them with it, is what I try to do. And routine, 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 routine. Just constantly knowing what to expect with the kids and letting everything else fall, and you can just fix it. It's okay. You can fix it. And then I always have a date night with my husband once a week, and all phones are off. Everything's off, no matter how pregnant I am.
Do you ever have date night in, or do you always go out for your date night?
Never. I rarely do I go out now because I've always been so pregnant. The kids have been so little, have been nursing. So it's like a mad dash to get the kids down, and I just prepare for it. Like I take a nap in the day. Like I know that I'm going to be up later that night, and I just spend time with just, even if it's just he and I talking outside in the backyard, having like our favorite drink. Like, I'll get my little root beer that I love or whatever. And we sit and we just talk, and we're not talking about like, of course we catch up on the kids, we catch up on other stuff, but like we laugh and we make jokes and we talk about what's funny, and we just remember why we love each other. So that way, when it is hard and like he is coming home to a crazy house and I'm tired and it's messy and I'm having a hard time walking and I'm like, sorry, we have to get takeout again because I can't cook, and like all of that, we still can look at each other. And one thing that has really gotten me through for sure is like sharing milestones and goals with him about businesses that I'm working on and starting and participating. I know you do that with Lucas. We always, always, always kiss each other goodbye. Even if we're in a fight, we're always going to kiss each other goodbye before we get home, before we leave the house, always. Yeah. And it's like the best thing. I know that sounds silly, but I don't know, that's worked for us.
Those are great tips. I would say to a new mom who's trying to figure out, how do I balance all of this? I would say be intentional about the things that are important to you. And so, like you said, I mean, do something for yourself. Whenever I wake up in the morning, I always take even 5 or 10 minutes and just get myself ready for the day. Even if I'm just staying at home, because I just feel better. And if I feel better, then I'm probably gonna,
be nicer.
Come across. Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And also just, realizing that in this stage, my relationship with God may not look like a 1-hour Bible study with a group every week. Like your relationship with God changes, but he still knows your heart, and you can talk to God all throughout the day, in the morning, in the evening, with children, changing a diaper. And that is important to stay focused and stay centered. But I don't feel like you have to feel guilty that it's not a formal, long thing like it used to be, where you sat down and studied the Bible and talked about it with friends and your church. It looks different whenever you have children, but being intentional about the things that are important to you, like your marriage, every night we put the kids to bed and then we just hang out like in our room. It's like you said, a date night in. It's kind of like that, where, we'll just be together. We'll watch a movie and just visit. But we're always just together visiting and touching. I think that is important. Just to like touch hands, touch feet, just, be together. Yeah. And it is so important. And also just, I'd say giving yourself grace and realizing that you are in a messy season when you just have babies and you are starting out as a mom and wife and having a house. Like, it's going to be messy and it's not going to look like you thought it was going to look. But you can still find beauty in that and love it, and just get used to your new normal and realize that what works for you may not be what works for somebody else. Like, other people might tell you, what I did, and it's usually the older people too, because I think that sometimes you remember the past with like rose-colored glasses, and I think some people will say, well, what I did was I started prepping dinner in the morning, and then I had 3 home-cooked meals every day, and our family sat around the table and we ate. And, you think about that and you're like, okay, well, I need to do better and I need to start doing that. And it may not work for you. And you might realize that, okay, my family doesn't sit down for dinner every day, but everybody is still fed. Everybody is still happy. We still
Right.
visit throughout the day. And you can just let go of that guilt, because what worked for other people in different years or
Yeah,
different seasons, or even
absolutely.
the same season, but just not your family, may not work for your family,
Mhm.
and that's okay. And I think taking that pressure off, just that, your family and things that work for your family are going to look different, and that's okay.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely. Giving yourself grace. And I love the way that you said that. That's so true, is knowing that, you know, outside pressures don't have to like resonate with you. Like you don't have to do things the way it has always been done or it's supposed to be. Like that all goes out the window when you're creating your own family. Because to me, at least, my family being happy and cohesive and at peace and like full picture is way more important than making sure that like I have things done perfectly or that everybody gets a home cooked meal or that like they're
yeah.
seated up in perfect unison. Like I just
Yes.
sometimes it just doesn't happen. It's
Yes. And if
messy.
you go against that, you'll be frazzled and stressed, and your kids are going to pick up on your emotions. But if you just kind of say, okay, I'm just going to go with this and just focus on the things that matter, then you'll be less stressed. They're going to feel less stressed. And it's just going to, yeah. The
Absolutely.
saying that comparisons is the stealer of joy is 100% true.
1,000%.
Yes.
And one thing that, my husband and I have actually started doing too, is we have like our own like business meetings
Mhm.
once a week and like once a month,
Love
visit
that.
quick one once a week and
Mhm.
once a month with our 19-year-old. And
Mhm.
we go through and like, okay, what is everybody's big goals? What are it like? We do a full kind
You
of,
write it down, don't you?
yeah, and we
Love
do a
that.
full analysis at the beginning of the year. We do our vision boards, we do our quarterly check-ins, but like, okay, how can we help you get to this goal? What are we doing here? And what are we family budgets, family, what are we doing for our family trip? What do we want our family to look like? We're constantly talking about it. So
It's
everybody's
so
on the same
intentional too.
page. Yeah. And it relieves a lot of that pressure that I don't have to feel guilty for wanting to do this one thing with
Mhm.
business and take away from this because you can't be everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
You just can't. So
Yeah.
it has to be a family pitching in,
Mhm.
that we're constantly reassessing our priorities together as a
That's
family.
so smart. I love that.
Communication,
Mhm.
communication. Because I used to be afraid to communicate. Like I wasn't, I know I can talk a lot, but but
Well,
being
I
able
think the way I think we're very similar. And for me, like I can communicate, but I don't like to communicate anything negative. I don't like to talk about anything hard or negative, but sometimes you have to.
hmm
Yeah. And that's
yeah.
important.
And you have to, my husband's really good at reminding me, like, you have to know your worth. Like it's okay. You're a mom and you are a strong mom and you do everything you possibly can for this family. And that is so valuable that don't let anybody take that away from you. Don't let anybody be mean to you.
You got you guys are such a good team. I think that is so awesome. Just how you do have like a cheerleader in that,
Oh
and
God,
vice
I'm so
versa for him.
lucky. Are you
Yes,
kidding me?
yes, yep. And the same, yeah, I could say the same thing. And I think that actually is key. I mean, and I know that a lot of people don't have that built in, and that would be so hard. But um, to have that kind of support is so it's just comforting when like if I ask Lucas like, what do you think about this, or should I do this or that? His answer every single time is whatever you want, mama. Whatever
Yeah.
you want, mama. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I need your help making a decision. Help me with this or this. And he's like, whatever you want, mama. So
Yeah. I love that
it's
so
nice to
much.
have that support, just knowing that you do what you think is best, and I support you, and it does kind of free you to say, okay, I am like the CEO of this home and this,
Yes.
this direction that I think we should go. And, it is freeing to know that, that is my role, and here we go.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I can't wait for that podcast episode to talk
I
about
know, right?
that.
Well, we have so many amazing episodes, and I'm so excited to cover all of them.
I know,
Um,
me too.
oh,
I'm so
goodness.
excited.
Is there anything else we want to talk about in this one? Any
I
other
do.
advice we want to give, or anything, any other tips?
Oh,
We covered a lot.
I know. Find a business partner that you love talking to and laughing with and do life with them and like value them, because that's been like, I swear, all of our businesses have taken off after I met you, because we like being around each other. So I think that makes things a lot easier to do when we like prioritize our friendship and our families, that you can get really anything done with that.
I agree. Fine. And you don't have to have necessarily a partner if you're doing a business, but I will say having you as a partner in our businesses has made things so much more fun. And it also has brought it to another level because you think of things that I would not have thought of, and we bounce things off each other.
Oh, and you're brilliant too. You think of things and you're like, hey, by the way, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a checks and balances that just has.
Yes. So I 100% agree with that too. It's when you have a business partner like this or a friendship like this, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like you are just having fun and visiting with a friend, which is why we wanted to start this podcast too, because we normally talk about these things. And it's like, I think this could help other moms. I think this, our conversations would be valuable to other people in this situation. And so we're like, let's do it then.
Let's do it.
And then it's like, how do you do it? I don't know. Let's figure it out. We figured everything else out. Let's figure it out.
Let's figure it out.
So, and that's another point too, is when you're starting something, whether it's something within your home, a business, anything, you don't have to have it all figured out before you start. Just start and figure it out as you go.
So true. Yeah, because you're never going to have it figured out.
No.
And it's never going to go how you thought it was going to go.
Yes.
Ever. And it can be so much better. So just start.
Exactly. Lucas is texting me. Hold on. I'll call you in a minute.
No. So.
But yes, I think all those things are so value added. And if I were a new mom, I would have been like, okay, these are great tips. So I hope that this will help your learning curve and your inspiration just kind of get a jump start. If you are a mom of many or a mom of one, and you have you're juggling it all and you're just trying to figure out how to do that. I hope that
and even if you're just an aspiring mom too, we're going to be talking about fertility stuff. We're going to be talking about kind of everything, all of our journeys. And I think that just being just a woman in today's world and what you want your world to look like. So message us too. Please feel free to interact with us on Instagram. Send us a DM. We love questions. We love to talk. We'll be interviewing experts. All kinds of stuff.
It's so true. And I'll put our Instagram handle in our description as well.
Oh, perfect. See, that's why you're the CEO of socials.
Yes, I do that part. You do the other part. We're a good team. All right. Okay. Well, this was fun. And I can't wait to talk about other topics next week.
Yay. Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.